Is it easier to leave or be left? Now, while I do believe it's a very simple question and a very simple answer, it's easier to leave than be left, stay with me for a few moments while I share with you one of my lessons learned thus far about having to continue on, and although life may be very challenging, being the one going forward means you get new stimuli and usually end up in an easier way making things turn around than staying behind. Take, for example, the parents whose child goes off to school. The child will have lots of new stimuli, but the parents who stay at home can easily stew in their same sour air of depression because nothing's changing. They get left behind. Consider dropping off a pet at a vet for putting the pet, as we say, to sleep because the pet is not well. Well, the pet transitions to a much better place out of suffering, and we who stay behind can go back home and stew in our sour air of remorse and sadness and lack of new stimuli, for example. Consider a relationship. If one moves out and leaves physically, and one is left behind to continue in the abode where two had been living, the easier of two, not that either is easy, is the former, who's moved out with new stimuli and just to stay alive, shopping and eating and groceries and laundry must continue in some form of new, moving, forging ahead. The person staying behind in the old stimuli with everything set, laundry and kitchen and living space, can much more easily stew in his or her same sour air. What's your point, Lawrence? I have a couple, and it is to be aware that sometimes we're the ones, metaphorically or physically, doing the leaving, and sometimes metaphorically we're the ones staying behind. Neither one is better, but it is far easier to leave than to be left. Just dropping off somebody at the airport and going back home to continue what you normally would do, work or home or errands. The person who's traveling off gets to go through security, as if that's a joy, and gets to go through the joys and the stresses and the necessities of all the stimuli of having to carry on and get to one's destination. And those of us dropping off the person at the airport, for example, just continue what we normally had planned, albeit both parties may be very, very sad. One thing I learned in all of this, is it easier to leave or be the one left, is that there's a wonderful wisdom in this saying: don't abandon someone while you're leaving, because it is easier to be the one leaving. Don't abandon someone while you're leaving. And that's a quote that was given to me. Those of you who know me really well know that I never use the word don't, but I'm not changing my Father's words. So, with love in my heart and a firm commitment to share and spread wellness without walls, I'm Lawrence, expressing my gratitude thus far with you for expressing and learning my lessons learned. And I conclude by asking, not making decisions, but is it sometimes really significantly empowering to ask ourselves, am I the one, physically or metaphorically, leaving here? Am I the one, metaphorically or physically, being left here? And at very least, in whichever label or whichever role I'm going to assume to carry on, I'm going to remember not to abandon while I'm leaving. Keeping doors and windows and bridges open can be a wonderful, smart, personal, and business decision. At the end of the day, kindness will never be the wrong answer from leaving or being left.